Welcome back to another episode of Her Expat Life. We are the YouTube channel that is dedicated to bringing digital nomads, female entrepreneurs, and expats information to help them advance their global lifestyles. Today we have a very interesting person who is joining us to discuss the whole entire process and give us more information on the digital nomad visa for Mexico. Okay, so obviously Mexico is an up-and-coming destination for a lot of digital nomads. We have places like the capital city, Mexico City, which is bustling and has a lot to do. Oaxaca, which is the foodie capital of Mexico. Tulum, San Miguel de Allende, Merida, and a lot more destinations that are popping up on the map and causing people to be quite curious as to how they can start working as a digital nomad in Mexico. And this brings us to today's guest, Celeste Marin, who is the founder at GLSAM, which is Global Lawyer Services and Migration, based in Mexico City. Celeste, thank you for joining us today and welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to share with all of you all the information about the Digital Nomad Visa, which is a very interesting kind of visa that has a lot of benefits. And of course, we will love that you can visit Mexico and try to apply for this type of visa.
Amazing. So Celeste, before we dive into all the information, can you tell us a little bit more about your firm? What does your legal firm, your law firm do in particular?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Global Lawyer Services and Migration, as you said, it's a law firm based in Mexico City. However, we do a lot of process in the whole country. We have we are based also in another state. So we can help to a lot of people from anywhere in the world that they want to be in Mexico, not just with a Nomad Digital Visa, also with a work visa, if they want to get a citizenship or they just want to be here in Mexico as a tourist.
Okay, amazing. Let's dive straight into it. So, Celeste, my first question to you is, what is the specific name of the Digital Nomad Visa program in Mexico? Does it have a special name?
Yes. Actually, there is not Digital Nomad Visa in Mexico. We don't call it like this in the legal way. It doesn't really exist. After the pandemic, the law in Mexico City renewed some of their information, and that's when we have always a solvency economic visa. But this solvency economic visa, it was used usually for older people who want to retire or they wanted to just live in Mexico with a pension, or older people. But after the pandemic, we got this another requirements for the solvency economic visa that were with less money for younger people who wanted to work remotely in Mexico. So the name of the visa is Solvency Economic Visa.
Solvency Economic Visa, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. What are the eligibility criteria for this type of visa in Mexico?
This type of visa requires approximately 3,000 euro for the last 6 months. Plus, you will need to hold a letter from your company that specifies that you want or you are willing to work remotely in Mexico. Those are the specific requirements that you need to have in order to apply for this type of visa.
Okay, so earning 3,000 euros per month for the last
per month for the last 6 months before taxes. Well,
before
for
taxes.
people from
Okay, great. Are there any specific requirements for demonstrating remote work or self-employment status? What paperwork does the government need to see here?
Well, in this case, it will always depend on the person. Every case is different. So usually you are willing to work in Mexico remotely from a company, but there are another type of people who they just have their own business, and they would just want they also have the requirement to get the 3,000 euros in their bank statements. So usually for those specific cases, they ask them for the proof that they honor the company. So plus the letter, plus the bank statement, they have to show to the consulate that they are the owner of the company in order to have the proof of the visa. And also it would always depends on the of the case, you know. Every case I think is different, but those are the most common people that apply for it.
Okay, perfect. Can you tell us more or less how long does it typically take to process this visa application?
Again, it will always depends on, because it depends on the consulate of Mexico that you are going to apply for the interview. So for example, Barcelona, they usually, the consulate of Mexico in Barcelona, they open availability for the appointments at the end of the month. So if you are now on 26th of September and you want to apply now, probably in 3 days, Barcelona will open some availability. So you will have the appointment on the 2 weeks. But in another countries or places that you would like to apply, they probably open appointments for every 2 months, and other ones every 1 month. So that will depends on the appointment at the consulate. But usually it takes from 1 to 2 months to get this type of visa, because even though you get a visa on your passport when you go to the consulate for the interview, you don't finish the process there. You have to arrive in Mexico, and as soon as you arrive in Mexico, you have 30 days to finish the process at immigration in our case, Mexico City. But for example, if you go to Cancun, you probably have to go to the immigration in Merida, and it's also like you have to get an appointment there and finish the process there for the fingerprint process, the photo, and the delivery of the residence card.
What documents are required to apply for this visa?
Okay, as it said, it was the bank statements that you need to have the amount. And here is very specific, like you cannot have less than the 3,000. And also another, like a tip I'm gonna give to you is that it will also depend on the consulate. For example, Barcelona exactly asked for the 3,000 euros for the last 6 months. But for example, if you said, well, I would like to go to Miami, Miami probably asks for a little bit less or a little bit more. So you have to check at the consulate of Mexico that you want to go to apply the exactly amount that they will ask for it. You cannot have less. You can have more, of course, but you cannot have less. If you have less in 1 month, they will not accept your visa.
Okay, so basically your bank statements and probably your letter from your employer or your proof that you own your own business, these are the most important documents to have.
Are the most important, yes. Also for the letter that you will have to give at the consulate, every consulate has their own requirements. Usually you have to specify that you are going to work in Mexico remotely from this time to that time. Okay, you have to also, for example, Barcelona as well, they ask for the link of the company. As I said, you have to check perfectly, depending on the consulate, the specific requirements.
Is there a quota or a limit to the number of these types of visas that are issued every year?
No, there is not. Everyone who wants to apply for it, they can do it as long as they have their requirements, of course.
And can family members such as partners or children be included in the application? Can you bring family with you?
You can, but not when you are applying for the visa. First of all, you have to get the residency. As soon as you get the residency, if you want the next day, you can apply for the unit family visa for your family, that it would be your parents, your children, if they are minor, and your spouse. But it's after you get the residency, because it's a requirement for the application. If you are in the process to get it, you cannot apply for it.
And what is the duration of stay allowed under this visa? How long can you stay in Mexico?
You can stay for 1 year at the beginning. All visas, all residencies are for 1 year. After the first year, you can renew for 1, 2, or 3 years. After the third year of renewal, you can apply for the permanent residency.
Okay, that's great. Are there any financial requirements such as proof of income or savings for the visa application? Just to review and to mention this again, basically you have to earn a minimum of 3,000 euros per month for the last 6 months. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Do you have to show any other savings outside of this?
No, you don't have to. But, well, when you check at the consulate, you will see another amounts of the solvency economy, because now there are more type of solvency economy visa. The type that you are looking for, that is the digital nomad visa, it's that one of the 3,000 euros. But if you see another ones with more amount, it's because they are probably asked for a retirement permanent residency. That is not the one that you are trying to apply for.
Excellent. Are health insurance or medical examinations requirements and necessary for the application?
There is not. Yeah,
No.
they should.
Okay.
They should, but no, you don't have to show any of it. And sometimes another tip, when you arrive in Mexico, you're like, okay, what should I do now? Because I'm working from another country, and they are the ones who should give me this insurance. So I usually recommend them to get a independent health insurance here from a private company.
What happens if somebody has gotten the visa, is working in Mexico, and they want to change their employer or their work arrangement while on this visa? Would they have to let the government know? What would this process entail?
With this type of visa, you are not allowed to work in Mexico. You cannot receive money from Mexico. In the idea that you would like to start a business here with a company or independent, you will have to ask for a permission for work. But you can never stop to hold your solvency economy visa. What it means that when you do a renewal process, immigration will ask you for your solvency economy plus your permission for work. So you will have two conditions to show when you renew the process. If you, for example, you have the work, but you don't have the solvency anymore, you cannot renew your process.
And if you change employers, so if you're still working for a company outside of Mexico, but it's a different company to the one that you applied under, do you need to inform them of this? Or as long as you're getting the minimum amount, they're not really worried?
Yeah, exactly. You can do it. You can change your work in as long as you have the solvency. Because the solvency, yeah, we have a letter to arrive in Mexico, but after that, when you renew the process, they will not ask for it. You will have to just let them know that you continue with the same solvency to live in Mexico. That's the good thing. But for example, if you hold the permission for work and you change the company here in Mexico, you have to notify the institute that you are not going to be working from this company, but you will work for the another one in Mexico.
And can a person travel in and out of Mexico whilst holding this visa? Is this possible?
Yes, they have the residency, all the temporary residencies, they have multiple entrance and exit from Mexico.
Okay. And is there a limitation on how many times, or
No, there's not. You cannot leave the country for more than 6 months in 2 years if you want to apply for citizenship. If you will not want the Mexican passport, there is no problem. You can leave the country after your renewal process and then the whole year being in your another place and then come back in Mexico. There is no limitation.
So only when you're considering citizenship is it something to remember that you will have a limitation as to.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any specific taxes that people need to be aware of whilst living in Mexico on this type of visa?
This will depend on the case, but for example, for the digital nomad visa, because you are not allowed to work and you cannot receive money from Mexico, you don't need to get a registration at the tax institute. So you don't have to do any tax issue in Mexico. But if you get a permission for work, that is a moment that you will have to start to register yourself at the tax institute. But before, it is not a requirement.
And you touched on this before, but maybe let's just talk about it again for the sake of clarity. Can someone engage in any business activities in Mexico locally whilst holding this visa? And if this happens, do they lose the visa, or what happens in this case?
You can start to do it, but you will have to do more process, like get the permission for work, register yourself at the tax institute, register your company in all institutions here in Mexico. So you can do it because you are not allowed, but as long as you have the permission, you will be able to do all the business you want in here.
Okay, and what is the process for renewing this visa? And are there any complications that if people want to renew it after a year, I think you said. Are there any complications that people could anticipate?
Well, you can have some complication always because immigration in Mexico is a little bit sometimes complicated. So usually if you go by yourself, you probably get frustrated and think that nobody is really helping you because nobody helps you. And it will also depend on the state that you want to do the process. For example, here in Mexico City, it's easier because it's the capital. So we can have a process finishing from 1 to 4 working days. But if you go to another state, that probably takes 1 to 2 months. So it's important that you check where are you planning to do this renewal process, because every local immigration office in Mexico is different. I will always recommend to do in the city because you might be pay for a flight but it's cheaper than you have to take so many months to finish a process that it takes in Mexico City 1 2 days.
What are the types of complications that you think people might be able to encounter, and any advice on how to get around?
The usual complication is to get an appointment. That's why people hire us, like to get up an appointment, to bring all the documentation ready, because the reality is that immigration is very strict. If you don't do exactly the process, at least in Mexico, as how it is, and sometimes there are requirements online, but when you arrive in the desk, in the reality, they ask for more things that are not online. So you get frustrated because you have to get another appointment because they don't have flexibility with us. So a process that might take us in a regular day for our firm 1 to 2 days, from a normal people, they could get like, I don't know, 2 3 weeks without any answer. So yeah, those are the complications. And also because the immigration is not very helpful, like they don't really give you the answers. That's something about bureaucracy here in Mexico, unfortunately. I would like that it changed, but unfortunately now it's like this. So those are the probably complication they might have. But if they bring all the requirements, they have everything perfectly information, they shouldn't have any problem.
In theory, yeah.
In theory, yes.
Yeah, bureaucracy is always very painful. That's why we need people such as yourself to help us with these processes.
Yeah.
It makes life easier. I'm just thinking now, another question off the top of my head, is language barriers also maybe another complication? I mean, are people at the embassies, do they normally speak a really good level of English, or is there sometimes challenges with communication?
No. At least government people who work there, they don't speak English at all. Usually they have one person that is like, hey, help us. You can maybe help with it, but we have people from everywhere. Pronunciation is different. Some can understand, some others not, but they try to manage the situation. But if you want that someone help you in another language, super hard.
Okay, so unless you've got a really good level of Spanish, you're probably going to have some challenges.
Yeah, I think it's the only way.
What are the legal obligations or responsibilities of a digital nomad visa holder, or in this case, the visa that you've specified, in Mexico? Is there anything that a person holding this visa has any legal obligations to, or any responsibilities they need to know about?
Well, the digital nomad visa has the same obligation as all residents in Mexico. So they have to notify the institute, well, the immigration institute, if they change their address, for example. If they were living in Mexico City and they moved to Tulum, they have to notify the institute where are they living. If they were single and then they were married, they changed the marital status, they have to notify it as well. If they change their name, if they change their nationality, it's one of the obligation they have. They also need to renew the process 30 days before their expiration date. So if they don't do it, they will lose their residency. And basically, those are the obligation. But in Mexico, as in every country, they have the right to ask for help for their consulate, at their consulate. There are some things that a lot of foreigners don't know. So if they have any problem, they can go as a foreigner to their consulate and ask for help in Mexico.
Lastly, but quite importantly, can you provide an estimate of the total cost involved, including application fees and legal representation that someone might expect or anticipate when going through this process?
This process, because you have to pay immigration fees at the Immigration Institute in Mexico. Also, you have to pay at the Consulate of Mexico for they print your passport, the visa on your passport. So usually it costs like 1,000 euros, which is not too expensive, I guess. It's a process of like 1-2 months. You pay with it all your immigration fees, the help, the legal assistance, and yeah. But I think it's worth it, because a lot of people get very frustrated to get an appointment, to bring all the documents. It's better to have someone to help you every single step, to make it more like faster, easier, that you are planning to live in another country. So what we do in our firm is like, we just not help them with the immigration services and assistance. Like, every time they arrive here, they have more questions. Like, I would like to have a debit card from Mexico. I would like to have a license. You know what? I have my family. How can I take them here with me? I got another opportunity. What can I do? So usually my clients, like everything that they do, they ask me for advices, and we always give them all the advices they need. Or they want to rent an apartment, and they ask me, "Oh, Sel, what do you think? This area is good, or do you think it's dangerous? Do you think that I should live in this place? It is expensive, but it's not." So we try to help them in every situation they have. I think it's very worth it.
I think so too, Celeste. And that's great to know that you offer not just assistance with getting the actual visa, but also that you help your clients adjust and adapt to living in Mexico. Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, and now it's very multicultural, Mexico City. Like, we have people from a lot of places in the world, and it's here in Mexico City and all Mexico is, people are very warming. They love foreigners. They like to adapt with new people, and I think it's getting better and better.
Celeste, how can people get hold of you and your law firm if they would like to connect with you and use your services?
Yes, for sure. We have all the social media: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We have also a YouTube channel with some information. Actually, I have a video of solvency economy that is not about just digital nomad. It's also about retirement and pension. I also have one of the rights and obligation for residents in Mexico. So you can find us with GLSA Migration. We can write it there. It's the same name for everything.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, Celeste. We really appreciate you taking the time for chatting with us and clearing up a lot of our questions that we've had. And we hope to have you back in the near future with any topics that might come up related to Mexico and legal questions.
Yes, for sure. Whatever you need.
Thank you, Celeste.
I'll be here.
For those of you at home who've tuned in today, thank you so much. We hope that this has helped you. If you have any further questions, please include them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Keep following us for any news and updates, not only on digital nomad visas, but co-working and co-living spaces globally. Visit our website, herexpatlife.com, to join our membership program where you can get discounts with all of our global members that we have. We are also launching an app really, really soon, so keep posted on that. Keep your eyes peeled. We will keep you updated as to any new updates that we have on that. And if you have any specific questions or any topics that you would like us to cover, please drop your comments below and let us know what you would like us to source for you. If you have any guests you would like to see us feature, let us know. We are curious to hear what you have to say. And that's it for today. And have a great day, everyone.